The King of the Narrow Sea is the name of episode 4 of House of the Dragon, and it just aired on HBO, and I'm about to talk about it, discuss it, review it, give my first overall reaction to it. But before I do that, there will be some spoilers in this video. Again, it's not going to be a play-by-play, I'm just going to give you my overall thoughts, but if you haven't watched the episode yet, definitely go watch it before you watch this. And also, before I get into it, consider subscribing. I do trailer reactions, TV show discussions, movie discussions, that sort of thing. I'm currently talking about, well, the two main shows I'm currently talking about is House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So Daemon Targaryen comes back to King's Landing, and he essentially kneels in front of King Viserys, and he tells him that there's only one true king, despite the fact that he's been named King of the Narrow Sea. And this scene sets the tone for sort of this whole episode going forward, because I genuinely can't get a read on Daemon, and I can't get a read on a lot of these characters. Because this show is House of the Dragon, but let's not fool ourselves, they're still very much playing the Game of Thrones. But yet, despite when you started watching Game of Thrones, it was kind of obvious more or less where most of the characters were, where their loyalties were, what they wanted overall. Like, everyone knew Littlefinger was shady as soon as we saw Littlefinger. Everyone knew what Cersei wanted as soon as we saw Cersei. But with these characters, the same can't be said for most of them, honestly. Like, I genuinely cannot get a read on Daemon Targaryen. Like, he seems like he just wants his brother's affection, his brother's approval. He just seems like he wants to be considered a worthy member of the Targaryen household, but then he does some really weird shit to betray the loyalty and betray the trust of the brother that it seems like he's trying to win over, like what he did this episode with Rhaenyra. And also, I want to talk about Daemon Targaryen a bit more. I really like his character, like the rest of the world thinks. I think that he is one of the best characters in the show so far. But I'm really, really glad that in this episode we got to have some breathing time with him, because in episode 2 and in episode 3, of course, he was in those episodes, but he was in more or less just very few yet big epic scenes. I want to talk about loyalties again, because Otto Hightower is a character that's really, really, really confusing me. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this guy, or a lot of people have major red flags about this guy, which, don't get me wrong, I do as well. He's doing some really shady shit, and he has been doing so ever since episode 1. But one thing that really confuses me about him is it doesn't seem like he really has this grand scheme in mind, at least not yet. I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here, sort of giving him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, he wanted his daughter to marry the king. Yeah, he wants his grandson Aegon to be king instead of Rhaenyra being queen, but essentially everyone in King's Landing is like that. Everyone in Westeros is like that. Everyone just wants their name at the top of the leaderboards, and I can see Otto is doing the same exact thing as everyone else is doing, but it doesn't really seem to me yet that he's quite a Littlefinger, where he quite has this grand master scheme going on, and every single thing he's doing is leading that way. Because there's plenty of scenes where he seems loyal, where he seems like a loyal hand to King Viserys. Like, for example, in this episode where he tells the king about, what Rhaenyra and what Daemon were doing, it didn't really seem like he was doing so with, a twirl of his mustache and a grimace. It seemed like he was kind of heartbroken to tell Viserys what happened. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not me saying that I think Otto is a saint and Otto is completely mistaken, because, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, I do believe that he is going to be a villain towards Rhaenyra, towards Daemon. I do think that come the end of the day, that he is going to be an antagonist for our main characters. But as of now in the plot, part of me wonders if he's a bit misunderstood. I'm not saying that's the case. Again, it's just the great writing of the show makes you think different things are happening simultaneously. Once again, we get another amazing scene with King Viserys and his brother Daemon Targaryen, which I just want to talk about how hilarious it was to see Daemon Targaryen wander up to the Red Keep completely hungover. We also finally get the scene between Rhaenyra and Criston Cole that has been very clearly being built up for the last couple episodes, and it was a good scene. Criston Cole is a very interesting character to me, because he seems on paper to be wholly good so far, and he's got such a weird placement in this plot. Like, he's not of this completely noble house, yet he's a member of the Kingsguard, but, I'm just curious where he's gonna come into play when all's said and done, you know what I mean? Like, is he gonna be faithful to Viserys because he's part of the Kingsguard? Is he gonna side with Rhaenyra if there's ever a conflict between the two of them? I'm not sure. What's going to happen when he faces Daemon again? Because for sure that's going to happen. Because in the first episode, there was that amazing buildup of them jousting and then fighting. So they're definitely going to pay that off again at some point. I just expect another Criston Cole versus Daemon Targaryen battle. Calling it, and it'll be badass and it'll be amazing. There was just a lot of mind-twisting fuckery going on this episode that I absolutely love when it comes to this show and when it came to Game of Thrones. Like, for example, sometimes it seems like Alicent loves Viserys. Sometimes it looks like she's happy to be the queen and happy to be his wife, but yet when they're in bed together, she looks absolutely miserable. And then it's really cool seeing the dynamic between Daemon and Rhaenyra when he brings her out into Flea Bottom. You know what I mean? When he brings her out into actual King's Landing, and this, like, sense of wonder and like discovery on her face because she's lived there her whole life, but you know, she's never been in that part of the city, and like Daemon is sort of protecting her and guiding her through it, and then he, you know, does the weird ass thing in the whorehouse, and then he just leaves her there and takes off, and it makes you not like Daemon, even though other things he does is really cool. It's just becoming more and more clear to me as this season progresses that this show is doing something that Game of Thrones did so perfectly, and it's making you love a character one episode and then hate them the next episode. Anyway, that's my quick thoughts on season 1 episode 4 of House of the Dragon. What did you think about it? And yeah, consider subscribing if you want to see more of these videos. I talk about House of the Dragon all the time. I'm also talking about Rings of Power, The Walking Dead, trailer reactions. And again, let me know what you thought about the episode in the comments. I'm really, really curious, because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those episodes that people are going to say, okay, that was filler, that was a snooze fest, that was really boring, let's get on with it. And I also have a feeling it's going to be an episode that a lot of people are actually going to genuinely enjoy and genuinely appreciate and really like the small character moments. Anyway, thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.